Hello, I am Liana. I'm the librarian, the curator of the scripture collection for the American Bible Society. I'm going to share with you some of my favorite books. I'm going to show them and say a few words about them and hope that you will like them as much as I do. Thank you. What we have here is a presentation copy of the Chinese New Testament. And I would like to tell you the story of this copy. We are going back a little. In 1895, the Empress Dowager, who had ruled China for some 40 years or so, was celebrating her 60th birthday, which was, of course, a national holiday. And a few Chinese Christians decided that it would be the right moment to present the Empress Dowager with a copy of the Chinese New Testament. This Empress Dowager's name was Cixi Taiho, in my pronunciation. So the Christian Chinese raised money and persuaded the British and Foreign Bible Society, which was present in Shanghai, to print a beautiful edition of the Chinese New Testament, which they did. It was also in literary Chinese. And then the Chinese Christians raised money and ordered beautiful silver cover specifically made for their presentation copy, and they also ordered a casket in which to put the presentation copy. Obviously, they couldn't give the Empress Dowager a paperback. That would rather hurt and not promote that would hurt and not promote their project. So everything was managed perfectly. The Empress Dowager somehow received their present. End of part one of my story. By the way, no one knows what happened to that presentation copy. In about 1909, Cixi Taiho was dead. The reigning emperor died also. And somehow the Empire of China devolved to the infant emperor Puyi. At this point, another group of Christian Chinese decided that Puyi should receive a presentation copy of the Chinese New Testament as well. And they started a fundraising campaign. The initial idea was to have 3 presentation copies. One from the men of China, one from the women of China, and one from the children of China. And the children would give their presentation copy to the infant emperor, and the women to the Princess Dowager, not Cixi, the current Princess Dowager. And the men would give their copy to the Prince Regent of China. Somehow this plan was not found acceptable, and in the end they decided to have 4 presentation copies. And they purchased 4 copies of the same printed New Testament that had been presented to Cixi Taiho in 1895. And they ordered beautiful silver covers for the 4 copies and beautiful caskets with precious stones on them to place the New Testament in the casket. Everything was ready, and in Shanghai, the 2 Chinese who had started the whole project volunteered to take the 4 copies from Shanghai to Peking. That was a very long trip at the time. They had to sail for some part of the journey, and then they took a train that took more than 24 hours, and finally they arrived in Peking. And that's where a different part of the story started, because they couldn't get access to any member of the imperial family just like that. And the official attitude was hostile toward the Chinese Christians. It took them about 1 year to be granted an interview with an official high enough that would accept the present in the name of the imperial family. They never saw any member of the imperial family. They never entered the Forbidden City. That's why it was called Forbidden. But they managed to present their presence to an official. No one knows what happened to 3 of the 4 presentation copies at that point. There were reports of the presentation copies in the Chinese press. And through these printed reports, we know what images were represented on all the 4 copies. One of them had the parable of the vineyard. Another had a scene with shepherds guarding their sheep. There was the nativity of Jesus and the ascension of Jesus. Our copy has the ascension. We don't know very well what scenes were represented on the caskets. No casket has survived. What happened to the 3 missing presentation copies and to the 4 missing caskets is anyone's guess. My personal guess would be that they were melted and the silver was retrieved and the precious stones were retrieved, and that was that. This is the 4th copy. It's the only surviving one. It was brought to the United States somehow by a former missionary who sold it to the Bible Society in 1944. The front cover of this edition depicts the Ascension. We can see here the 11 apostles, and we can see Jesus ascending. If we look at their faces, Jesus is a Confucius-like person, and all the 11 apostles look Chinese. There's no problem with that. He died for them just as he died for us. The back cover of it's a heavy book. The back cover shows the dragons that symbolize the Empire of China.